And welcome to the Common Humanity podcast. I am joined today by Kylie and Alexa. They are the owners of the Sunshine Plant Company here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I've seen them at a couple of events. They helped me make a super adorable terrarium for my best friend, which she loved, by the way. But the backstory and how we all got here, I don't really know. So my question to you ladies is, who are you?
All right. So we are Sunshine Plant Company. So we predominantly sell house plants and try to spread knowledge regarding how to care for your house plants. We also do a lot of workshops and private parties. We do troubleshooting for people, so we can like go into their home, look at their plants and tell them like what's going on, if they're in the right spot, that sort of thing. And
I mean, the biggest part of who we are is just a couple of plant nerds here in Cheyenne that want to hang out and meet other plant nerds, and we're here to bring a little bit of happiness to the town. It's hard to be sad when you're surrounded by plants.
I agree. And I think you're doing a great job with that. So do either of you, both of you, whatever, have a background in botany or anything like that? Or are you just like, I love plants, plants.
Neither of us have like a formal background or education in this area. What we both kind of had our own separate plant journeys at the same time in different places. And so we met actually at the University of Wyoming. We were both going to school there. Lex was going for art and I was going for international studies. So very different. But I started getting into houseplants when my best friend, who I was living with, their mom passed away suddenly, and she loved plants. Her office was full of them. So my best friend and I inherited a whole bunch of plants with a lot of sentimental value. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I need to learn about this so that I can make sure that these stay alive. And just kind of fell in love with it. And it all just kind of spiraled from there for me.
Yeah, for me, I used to have a black thumb, as people say, and I killed cactus, bamboo, anything that's supposed to be super easy, was not able to take care of them. So I just thought plants weren't for me. But I don't know, you get one plant and it becomes successful and it just kind of grows from there, and you want to keep learning the plant language and how to take care of them. And then when I was at Kylie's apartment and I was offered to help care for the plants, and I was like, tell me what to do and I'll do it. And yeah, so kind of grew from that connection.
Nice. I like that. I like that you said plant language, because 100% there is a language there, both between plants and nature and plants and us. I think there's for sure a language there, which we can dive into a little bit more later. So I personally, I am mostly a black thumb when it comes to houseplants. Perennial gardens, like perennials. I mean, it's hard to kill perennials, which maybe is why I succeed with them. But like outside gardening and vegetables and stuff, like that's where I vibe a lot. I'm starting to get into houseplant things. But is there, no, I don't know if it's a reason or like a vibe or whatever that, are you guys, I know you guys, your shop is really more geared towards houseplants, but in your personal lives, are you all houseplants all the time? Are you houseplants and gardening? Are you like, what variety of plants do you have in your life?
Yeah, so first of all, kudos for your outdoor gardening skills, because that alone is a skill set that you have to learn, and it's really difficult. We always say that indoor plants and outdoor plants are like two completely different things. I mean, they've got the same basics and water, that kind of thing, but just two different environments, right?
Yeah.
Personally, we love to keep a garden. We're not super good at gardening.
Yeah,
growing
outdoor plants
vegetables.
are not our strong suit right now, but we're working on it.
We love it. Yeah.
Is it more flowers, herbs, veggies?
All of it.
Yeah,
All
we want to be able to grow our own food, to be able to like, feed ourselves, feed our community and our friends. In front of the shop, we've got some garden boxes that my dad and I built this year that we filled with all edible plants and flowers to make them forageable, so people just like walking through can take what they need. We are in the process of starting a community garden in our parking lot and hopefully partnering up with a very cool nonprofit here in town. So that's in the works, hopefully for this spring. But yeah, I mean, anything plant related, we're here for it. Like it's a good time.
That makes me so happy because one of my random conversations, I think I had this epiphany talking to someone on the podcast, honestly, is I was just like, apparently I need to start a community garden. That's something that I want to exist here. And I keep on my to-do list is to become a master gardener.
Yes.
But that I'm not gonna say is gonna wait till retirement, but it's gonna have to wait a little bit because I got a lot of things on the plate. But that makes me really happy, especially the foraging, because there is, I mean, aside from the fact that whether like a homeless population or just people walking by, there's so many plants that are edible. There's this one plant that grows in my garden that I very much consider a weed because it takes over everything. And then I found out how nutritious it is. And I was like, and it's like, it got like a spicy tang to it. And I'm like, well, it's not a weed anymore now. I just gotta put it where I want it to be intentionally. And it's just really cool when you learn all of those things. And I also wanted to point out that I really like, not that there's anything wrong with going to school for botany. I don't even know if people still go to school for botany, honestly. But I really like that you guys are like self-taught, that you're like, I found an interest in something and then I learned how to do it because I cared about it. And I think that speaks a lot to one, kind of how the world is changing and how, I mean, you look at YouTube, like people are like, oh, you don't have to hire someone to do that. Just watch a YouTube video.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's empowering to know that the information is there if you want it. And then there's just trial and error. And if you had to guess, how many plants have you killed in the process of learning how to not kill plants?
The limit does not exist, you know.
We're still killing plants to this day.
Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah.
It is a process. It's a lot of learning. There's no one person who knows absolutely everything there is to know. It's something that is constantly growing, pun intended, and evolving. And like there's always new varieties, new crossbreeds of plants that are coming out and hybrids, and it's a really beautiful thing and it's super exciting. And there's always something new. It's never the same thing. So that's cool. I'm learning something every day and that's nice to like keep my brain engaged. And like you were saying, it's empowering to teach yourself this. And like, that's probably my biggest connection to the plants is that empowerment. When I was first learning everything about it, I was not in a very good spot with my mental health and really having a hard time. But I kind of had this connection with taking care of the plants where it's like, oh, I take care of this and I do kind of good at it. And I'm also kind of taking care of myself and maybe I'm a little good at that too. And like, just kind of builds off of it. And my own like mental health journey is my plant journey. And so the two are inseparable for me. And it's been the biggest thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that is so beautiful. I love that sentiment and I love, because it doesn't, I mean, for you, it was plants. For somebody else, it might be pottery or art or something else, a pet, you know, whatever it may be. Like finding that thing that's just like, I'm meaningful in this way, and I bring meaning to this other thing, and therefore I realize that I have meaning. Like, I love that cycle of giving out to the world to realize your purpose. One of my favorite quotes is, come on, brain. The meaning of life is to discover your purpose. The purpose of life is to give it away. Something like that.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
Like, discover. Yeah, it's not purpose and purpose, but you get the gist. But yeah,
No.
so
Absolutely. That's absolutely it. You're like basically finding, you kind of find yourself in those smaller things because it kind of puts in perspective that you're just this one aspect of life, and then there's this whole other like working almost mechanical thing all the way around you, and you're just like one piece of that. And so, and absolutely giving that knowledge away. My plant journey is almost all lived experience. You know, you put a plant in this window and it burns to a crisp, and you're like, oh well, maybe this plant doesn't need that. And it's all the like building learning experience it, and then being able to like give that information away, and people just feel like, wow, you're a wealth of knowledge. It's like, well, I'm a wealth of like mistakes and successes. Basically.
I love that too, because I think that is like, when you boil it down, that's the human experience. Is one of my favorite quotes, of which is quoting myself, is failure is just the first step. So
Yeah, that's
but okay, so we figured out how you guys got into plants themselves. When did you come up with the idea of like, hey, Cheyenne needs a plant shop? Were you just like, where you start giving your knowledge away to people? Like, how was that born?
Yeah, so there's like basically two answers to that. And there's the answer we give everyone, and then there's kind of like a deeper answer as well.
Both.
You want both? Okay. So I guess the surface level answer is, so my mom used to own Fly Dragon Art Studio, and she was downsizing her space. We lived in Colorado, and she said, you know, do you want to open a business, take over the space? She's been trying to get us to move back for a long time. She wants her kids close by, you know, how as moms tend to do. And we were like, well, we could do something with that. And that's how kind of that seed kind of started the process. But the deeper one is in two veins of thought.
So originally we're both from Wyoming. I'm from Pinedale, other side of the state. Alexa is here in Cheyenne. We met while going to school at the University of Wyoming. We got together there, and then we moved to Colorado. So we were like, Fort Collins is much more open and accepting space of who we are. We're more likely to find people that are similar to us. We have a lot of friends there. There's always things to do. It felt like a safer place to be coming from Wyoming.
We are married.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So when Alexa's mom said that she had this space available for us to start a business, it was a lot of, I don't know if I can be happy in Wyoming again. Like, I don't know if that community is there to support me, if like we're going to be able to find what we need to be happy and to feel safe. And so the real underlying vein of the big push as to why we did it is, nothing is going to get better if everybody leaves. So we made the decision to come back, open up a space where people can feel happiness, feel joy, be here, feel safe, feel seen, see themselves in other people, and to share this fun plant journey. And so that's really why we did it.
Yeah.
First of all,
And
like,
then the
here
other,
we go.
yeah, we had some friends being like, wow, you're so brave. But coming here, we realized that we didn't need to be so afraid. Like, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding and, not taking the time to just get to know each other.
Mhm.
And so, yeah. But the other side to the same coin is the drive behind wanting to open a business rather than just move back and do this as a hobby is, mental health related. Like, there are too many days in a work year where we felt like we just couldn't like show up the way we needed to, as employees. And
Burnout was very real.
oh my gosh, the burnout was really bad. And although opening up a new business is like one of the biggest undertakings I think you could possibly do,
Yeah.
we get to be our own bosses. So there's that drive to like make it work for us, make schedules that work for us, be able to support each other in ways that you typically don't get to in a traditional workspace. Like, oh, I'm not feeling good. Okay, you go home, I'll take over. It's just kind of, we get to have a lot more balance in our lives, that outweighs all the extra stress.
Yeah.
I feel that because I've went through that journey of leaving the 9 to 5 as well. So, because the burnout is real. Yes, 100%.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you had friends tell you that you were brave. I also was going to say that it is brave, and it is brave not because of, it's brave, I mean, in the one sense of like being I can never say this fast, LGBTQ, in Wyoming, because there's definitely a stigma, and there's definitely like some tenseness there when you grow up here, because you don't see a lot, or at least growing up. I don't know how old you guys are, but when I was growing up, didn't see that a lot, at least in the open. I'm very proud of a lot of the youth growing up here because, and the youth in general, like they're not, I mean, Gen Z and Gen A, are they Gen? Whatever generation my kids are.
Yeah.
all the kids, all the youngins.
Yes.
I feel like they're a lot more open about who they are, and they feel more comfortable being themselves, which I think shows just great growth for the world. But I think it's brave, one, uprooting yourself and planting yourself again back, because like then there's also the stigma of like going back to your hometown. Like,
right.
Sure, you've heard it that Cheyenne is a black hole, and I'm like, it's not a black hole if you choose to be here.
That's probably the big thing, honestly. When you get to choose to be here, you start to see like all the beautiful parts of it. And honestly, like, times are different. There's a lot more understanding around people who are different. And I think that's the biggest like killer of fear, is just understanding. And like you said, a lot of youth. We get so many kids, not just like teenagers and 20 somethings. I'm 30. Kylie just turned 28, by the way. And we get a lot of people in the like 9 to 16 range who don't feel safe or comfortable outside of these doors, who do feel safe in this space to just be who they are and feel accepted. And they don't have to say anything. They just get to come in with their friends, and they just get to be goofy or plant nerds or whatever it is. They don't have to put on an act or anything, and that's
with their parents too. We
Yeah.
get so many super supportive parents that will come in here with their kids or on their own and like talk to us about it, and like that has been incredible. That is something that we never expected, honestly, is to be received in the way that we have. Our experience being here has been so positive, and that is not what we were expecting.
the beautiful parts of it. And honestly, like, times are different. There's a lot more understanding around people who are different, and I think that's the biggest like killer of fear is just understanding. And like you said, a lot of youth. We get so many kids, not just like teenagers and 20 somethings. I'm 30. Kylie just turned 28, by the way. And we get a lot of people in the like 9 to 16 range who don't feel safe or comfortable outside of these doors, who do feel safe in this space to just be who they are and feel accepted. And they don't have to say anything. They just get to come in with their friends and they just get to be goofy or plant nerds or whatever it is. They don't have to put on an act or anything, you know? And that's
with their parents too. We
Yeah.
get so many super supportive parents that will come in here with their kids or on their own and like talk to us about it. And like, that has been incredible. That is something that we never expected, honestly, is to be received in the way that we have. Our experience being here has been so positive. And that is not what we were expecting. You know, we go into something always expecting the worst case scenario, but it's been amazing. It's been the best. There are way more kind people in the world than
in Cheyenne.
Yeah, in Cheyenne than what we think there are. You know, we go into something always expecting the worst case scenario, but it's been amazing. It's been the best. There are way more kind people in the world than
in Cheyenne.
Yeah, in Cheyenne than what we think there are.
Yeah.
There are a lot more good people out here.
And that makes me happy. But I also wanted to touch, because I said the same thing. I had a lot of friends who were artists in high school, and they were just like, oh, there's no art here. And then they all moved to Portland, and they still make art. But I'm like, and I told them, I was like, if you want the art or the type of art to change, you have to stay and make art. Like somebody, and that's where I was getting to with the bravery, like being the person to be like, okay, I'm going to be the one. I'm going to be the one who makes change, because it's a difficult journey. Just because there's a lot more, and it's not even necessarily pushback, but you have to do a lot more like of the foundational work. Because I mean, how many other plant stores are there in Cheyenne that aren't like Lowe's?
Right.
Yeah, right.
Like being like, no, we're going to be a place where we have a specialty houseplant business, and we're going to teach you how to do it. Like that in and of itself is like, that's a brave thing to do, to bring change to a place. And then if you look at Cheyenne, it has changed dramatically the last decade. And the art and the different businesses that are coming to town, including you guys, that's what's bringing the change and being the catalyst for the community to build around. Because growing up here, there didn't seem like there was a lot of community. And I think a lot of the entrepreneurs that have come here have made it a point to be like, no, we're here for each other. That's because that's what makes it all work.
100%.
Yeah, that's been our biggest asset, honestly, is working with other small businesses, making these connections. Like, we are all just individuals out here trying to survive, but also to be happy in life. And that's the biggest reason why anybody starts a business, is because you want to be happy and feel good about what you're doing. And there are so many cool people in Cheyenne that have businesses. Like, downtown is such a cool place. There's so much going on. The art scene is amazing. There's so much happening in the arts community in Cheyenne, which awesome.
Yeah.
A good arts community, cool place to live. So, you know, Cheyenne's a really cool place, and it exceeded my expectations, and I'm really glad to be a part of it now.
Yeah, and it's continuing to grow in such beautiful ways. I mean, we're looking right across the street at a building that's going up, and it's the Children's Museum. So excited about that. It's about time.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Reed Corridor, which is 2 blocks with the railroad behind us.
Mhm.
That's going to be revitalized. The 15th Street experience is going to become a thing where people get to just come and hang out and have really cool shopping experiences with like shops and train cars and stuff like that. And like all the breweries who just want to reach out and like partner with you. And there's going to be a new clothing store downtown here, and there's a couple of them already. And I don't know, it's just, and pretty much everyone who owns businesses down here are, you know, youngish, mostly like women-owned businesses, which I was very shocked to learn.
Yeah.
And like there's enough room for all of us here in Cheyenne, and like we get to be like unique because we have like this Western experience on top of being like budding urban like bustling city space.
Wyoming's not just for cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, per capita, I would say less real cowboys than not. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So tangenting back to something else, because I said we'd come back to it. If you were to define the plant language, how would you describe the plant language?
Yeah, so obviously very nonverbal. But we were kind of talking about this one time, how it's like the plant language and then each plant has its like own dialect kind of. So that, you know, the plants, I mean, basically it's observation based, and you see what they like and they don't like. You observe their leaves mostly and what they're doing, if they're getting yellow and mushy, brown and crunchy, if they're like drooping or perking up, and
color their leaves
color
are,
their
how
leaves are.
vibrant they are,
Yeah.
how much they move to catch the sunlight or they don't.
Yeah, and you kind of just observe those small moments, which like is one of those things that puts you into perspective of how big life is. Because like, sorry, I keep looking over here because I've got a massive plants over here. But yeah, they're like their own little beings, and like the more we learn about plants, the more like they're sentient, you know. Like there's this science experiment that came out recently that was being talked about in my world, because I follow a lot of plant people. And it's basically that plants have photoreceptors, and it's not in the same way people do, but they basically have eyes, and they like recognize people when they get up close to them. And if you put them in front of a mirror, they act differently than when they're not in front of a mirror, and just stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, when I say it's a language, like I really truly mean it. And like you're learning a way to exist with another being. So we really deeply care about the plants, because we really do see the importance of them, but not just that, like the life in them.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. It also makes me think of how plants, like almost going back to the mental health side of things, how plants can be helpful, because in order to notice all of those things, you have to be present. And like how a plant can help you as a human being actually get grounded and centered. And there's a lot of people, like my boyfriend does yoga, and he has videos where like he'll take his little bonsai, or his bamboo or whatever plant it is, and he'll do yoga with it. Not like,
Love that.
That's so cute.
but like it's always there with him, like on the mat. And I think that's part of it, is that grounding. And I love plants. I mean, like I said, I love perennials. One of the things I love about perennials is that, like, in winter, when you're like, okay, this is surely dead, it looks dead, like that's actually when it's getting stronger and its roots are growing deeper. And then the next year it comes back bigger and brighter. And it's just really cool because I feel like it's a very similar process that like us humans go through when, because the world is not always bright and happy, and sometimes we need to hibernate, really.
Absolutely. I mean, you are like spot on with that. And in taking care of plants, you kind of see yourself reflected back at you, because when you're able to really care for them and be present, they're beautiful, they're vibrant. And then like when you're not able to be there for them, you're like more pulled away from them. You really see them struggling along with you. Um, but yeah, absolutely. And that just experiencing that whole cycle, especially with the outdoor plants, is like such a beautiful observation. Like we all have those hibernation periods where we're like learning more about ourselves, even if we don't see it as learning and we just kind of see it as pain or even just darkness in general. And then you take all that in and then you come back even better and stronger.
Yeah, that reminded me of another quote I like, which is like when the world gets dark, you might think you were buried, but maybe you were planted.
Yes. Yes.
I love that.
That is also one of my favorites.
Okay, so then if you had to name your favorite plant on the planet, you don't have to own this plant, you don't have to even have seen this plant in person. Do you have a favorite plant, like whether it's you love it or like you just find it fascinating or anything?
Ooh.
In general, like plant varieties, I don't really have a favorite, but I have a plant that I have a very intense connection to, and that's the big monstera that we have in the shop, because that was like that's a plant that I got from a coworker like 7 years ago in a Ziploc bag, and it was 3 tiny leaves with a couple of roots, and now it's this big beautiful thing. And like that's really that plant and me, like that has been the catalyst for working on bettering myself and my mental health. Like that plant is my mental health journey. So like you can see some damaged leaves and maybe there's some spots where it wasn't doing so great, but it has new growth and it's doing good. And I talk to it all the time. So that's my favorite plant.
Oh, that is like one of the hardest questions. I I don't know. I guess one of my top plants is the African violet, because it's just a plant that you can get to bloom throughout the year. So you have that beauty in your home, and they're so vast in their varieties. Like people go wild with trying to create hybrids, and they show them at fairs, and there's like an African violet society, and it's pretty incredible to watch them just. I think the blooming is my favorite part, but the leaves are really amazing too. So as far as house plants go, that's one of like my personal connection ones. But I don't know if I can say a favorite. There's, I mean, there's so many cool and amazing plants out there. Plants that are poisonous, plants that open your mind, plants that are smell like rotting meat to attract uh, wasps to pollinate them. And like, oh man, I don't know.
Fascinating. Plants that are poisonous unless they are cooked or like changed in some way. And then a friend of mine was telling me the other day there's a fruit in Jamaica that if you try to eat it before it has bloomed, it is poisonous, but if it has already bloomed and opened up, then it's safe because whatever enzymes and all the things in it have been fully flushed in or out or whatever. So like, yeah. And I thought that was beautiful because like, it's one of those things, like if you try to do something before you're ready, it could kill you. But if you take the time and have the patience, then it's delicious and you get to like the bounty of fruit and whatever. So I thought that was really cool.
Yes.
Well, and that's also
plant was,
kind
but
the human connection with plants. Like we have been cultivating these plants, we've been caretaking for these different varieties and creating new ones to take care of ourselves and to like have fun and enjoy life with. But they're also like family heirlooms sometimes, you know, like you get this knowledge that's passed down about how to take care of a plant or when to eat a fruit when it's ripe from somebody that heard it from somebody older than them and like further and further back. Or you get plants that are passed down throughout the family, like cutting from my great grandma's Christmas cactus that she got from her great grandma. So like this plant that's been around in families for generations or something, you know, there's a connection, like a thread that always links us back. We are meant to be surrounded by plants.
Yeah. And one of the things I love about houseplants, and we'll get better at taking care of them, is bringing nature inside, because we live in Wyoming, and so it's not always super comfortable to be with nature outside. And that's coming from someone who I wear shorts and tank tops all winter long, and like I love sub-zero temperatures. I'm really excited for our first snow coming up. But even I admit that being outside with plants in the dead of winter is not always the most fun. So that gives you the ability to bring some nature inside. And I think that's just fantastic for humans, especially in the world we live in that is becoming more and more concrete. That's a side note though.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very good side note.
I'm not going to tangent. I'm not going to do it.
We can talk about it probably all day.
Yeah. I'm going to tangent. I'm going to tangent to something else. We're going to go into our little conversation game real quick. So as I explained, I'll ask a question. You guys can answer it, then I'll answer it, and then we'll just see where that takes us. And there's 3 of them, and we'll go from there. So if humans were reincarnated as animals, what would you like to come back as?
I would want to come back as a cat in a plant shop.
The best life you could possibly have.
Absolutely.
I would want to come back as I think I'd want to come back as something like in the ocean, like a deep sea creature where you're just kind of on your own and like untouched by this world of plastic. And
like one of the animals at the bottom of the Mariana Trench where no one's ever seen them before, that they're like, I'm living my best life.
They're just out there doing what they want to do. No one's bothering them. Yep.
Oh, you know what kind of plants we haven't talked about? Plants that live in water. Those things are also amazing. Sorry.
Yes.
I usually say something like a tiger because I love tigers and want to be a big cat. But I think I'm actually going to say a bumblebee. I love bumblebees, and I would like to be as close to bumblebees as possible. So the best way to do that would be a bumblebee. And then I could also still hang out with plants.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Okay, question 2. If you had a bucket list, what are at least 3 things you would have on it?
Ooh.
That's a tough one. I definitely would like to visit as many new to me places as I possibly could. So travel as much as possible. I would like to do something that scares me in every one of those new places as well. And I would also like to write a book. I think those are my 3 things.
Let me
Side note, depending on what you want to write a book about, I can help with that. I will, what's the word? Mirror you on the travel. One of my goals is to step foot on every continent.
Yes.
But I also, like, when I travel, I like to be in a place for a while. Like, I don't want to be there for a week and just take pictures. I want to, like, live in Peru for a couple months and go live in the Netherlands for a couple months and go, like, just because I can.
You got to get the whole experience.
Yeah, exactly. I think one of my bucket list things is raising good humans. I have 2 boys, so I would say that my goal is that they aren't douchebags. So when they are full grown men, I hope that they're good humans and not douchebags and continue putting good out into the world. And I think thus far, I think we're on the right track. So there's that. And a third thing on a bucket list would be, oh man, have a conversation with Jon Stewart.
Love that.
Jon Stewart, and I don't even know if I know I'm an intelligent human being, but every time he speaks, I'm just like, I just need to soak in everything you're saying because you melt my brain. And he's funny and knowledgeable, and I miss him on The Daily Show and everything else he's ever been on. So that would be a bucket list, is to just be able to sit down with Jon Stewart. All right, Alexa, what about you?
Okay, so I think one of my biggest bucket list items would probably be to go to Greece. That's where my mom's side of the family is from. So, and that's like the land I probably feel the most connected to, like ancestrally speaking. And so I probably want to go back and not do the touristy things, but just like, I don't know, just be in existence there and just kind of like feel that connection to my ancestors, and not be so separated from it. That would be like a really beautiful experience for me. I have always wanted to write a book about what I don't know. I just thought it'd be cool, like have something out there that can be like passed on or lost in a library somewhere. I don't know. Something with my name on it like that, even if no one reads it. And the third
Someone will read
thing,
it. Just so you know, someone will read it.
okay. One person at least, maybe this one. Yeah, the third thing, I don't know. Something wild and crazy that won't harm me in the long run. I don't know. I used to live in Alaska. I lived in Barrow, and people always did the polar bear plunge where they jumped into the Arctic Ocean. So maybe something along those lines. I never did it. I was not having the cold.
Well, on the one hand, I've always wanted to do a polar bear plunge. I've not, because I live in Wyoming and we landlocked. But I do ice baths on a regular basis. So if you never ever need to prepare for that, and I coach people through the breathing. So if you ever want to, got you. I also self-publish. So if you guys want to actually like and do that, I promise you someone will read your book. And if you're anything like me, you could make up to $2 a month off of people buying it on Amazon.
Wow.
Really rolling in the dough over here.
Yeah, break it in.
That's not why I wrote it, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, I just wanted to say all of those things are possible. Very possible. Anyway, last question. Oh, this one's, I was gonna say this one's an easy one, but maybe not. What are some of the things you are grateful for in your life?
That's a great
So
question.
many,
Gratitude
so
is
many
so
things.
so important to us. I'm grateful to be alive at this time and in this place because sometimes that's really hard, but I'm doing it anyway.
Maybe one of the bravest things that we'll ever do is exist now.
Yeah.
In this crazy world. Yeah. I am most grateful for I don't know, it probably sounds really cheesy and basic, but I'm like really grateful, you know, to have Kylie in my life and to have this joy. I won't call it a job, but it's our joy. And getting to just build our lives the way we want it to, and like really experiencing that joy like builds more joy. We're building like really beautiful connections to people. We've made some really amazing friendships, and just like getting to be a part of community. I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah,
I love
very
it.
grateful to share something I love with other people while building this beautiful life with the person that I love too.
I'm gonna tear up. Um, I'm joking. I don't it not joking, but I feel the need to tear up. I just don't because I'm not that kind of person. um, this is my hierarchy of crying when it comes to movies. So if it gives you any idea. So like if something bad happens to a human, I'm like, sucks to be them. Something bad happens to an animal, I'm like, oh man, it's so
Yeah,
sad.
A 100%.
Underdog sports stories. Every single time, like Cool Runnings, every time they pick up the bobsled and start walking, I start crying. The end of Remember the Titans. I watched one about I consider it underdog sports story about a robotics team
Oh my
from Nevada, and like they were all undocumented and like all of this against the odds stuff, like any sort of sports or anything like that. um Underdog sports stories have made me a fan of cross country, which I never thought was possible. But literally every single one of them, it doesn't matter how many times I've seen it. Sometimes when I'm like, I just need a good cry, I'm gonna be like, all right, we're gonna put Cool Runnings on. So because sports are my thing. Plants are your thing, sports are my thing. So
That's fair. That's perfect.
yeah. But oh, I'm supposed to say what I'm grateful for. I'm gonna say
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with grateful for the people in my life. So my kids, my mom, my little brother, my older brother, his family, my boyfriend, like the ladies in my fitness class at Smart Sports who are feisty and fantastic. Um, just I'm grateful for the humans I have in my life.
That's beautiful.
All right, so as we start to wrap things up, the last question that I have planned is if there's one thing the world needs to hear or to know, and it can be about anything, what do you think the world needs to know?
I think the world needs to know that you are not alone. You have a community just waiting to accept you. And especially like on your really hard days, if there's just one person that you can reach out to, even if it's on the internet, an internet friend or a forum somewhere, I don't know, that's okay. And whatever keeps you like grounded to this earth is important.
I agree 100%.
I think everybody could benefit from knowing that they're worthy of love and kindness. They deserve that.
100%.
I think with both of those things comes that you are inherently worthy.
Mhm.
You don't have to work for it. You don't have to be a certain size or a certain intellect or a certain color or certain anything. You exist, and therefore you are worthy of love and kindness and community. I knew I liked you guys. All right. So that is the end of it. So thank you for joining me on the Common Humanity podcast, where we are here to have real human conversations. Thank you for having a conversation with me. Thank you for what you're bringing to the community. And I'm sure I'll see you guys soon.
Thank you so much for having us. This has been really cool.
We are really grateful for
Yeah.
you doing this. So thank you.